Hey, Salut Friends. So I was down at the Dior boutique this last weekend and just skimming through the current lineup they have within the Dior Privée collection and got to chatting with the sales associate. I had a few general takeaways which I will share in this video. Plus, in spite of owning this one, I still had the impulse to test it. I was also told that this is their #1 bestseller in France, even overtaking some of their mainstream releases, which got me thinking about it. So here are my thoughts on Gris Dior. This was initially released as Gris Montagne, taking the name from the location of Dior's flagship boutique at the Avenue Montaigne in Paris. This is also supposed to represent the color code of the brand, this pearl grey or couture grey as they call it, which itself is derived from Christian Dior's residence in Granville in the Normandy region, where he grew up living through frequently overcast days, rainy weather and such. It is also represented in a lot of their products. It was renamed as Gris Dior when the entire collection was overhauled by their then in-house perfumer in 2017. Speaking of which, this was created by the Lord Almighty, François Demachy. I like Demachy as a perfumer more so for his flankers of Dior Homme, Fahrenheit and Eau Sauvage. He also had some really good releases within the Privée collection like Oud Isphahan, Leather Oud, Patchouli Imperial, Cuir Canage and Ambre Nuit. It's just that at the end of his tenure, it seems like the collection lost its way, releasing too many underwhelming fragrances. I think they got to 50 fragrances at one point. That's a staggering number for an exclusive collection. And in his defense, this might totally be the management that influenced him. Dior itself had turned more to a market segmentation approach a decade ago. He was then replaced by Francis Coupejean a few years ago, whose releases have also been disappointing, at least for me. But anyway, there was a time when the Collection Privée was unstoppable and we had a release that was at that time severely underrated with Gris Dior. I would consider this a neo chypre in that it takes the classical mossy floral chypre style and modernizes it. It almost made my list of neoclassical fragrances. Dior even considers the scent as a bridge between modernity and heritage. It is also a rose patchouli combo which was very popular at the start of 2010s. So in a way, I have always looked at this as Dior's response to Tom Ford's Noir de Noir and Frederic Maule's Portrait of a Lady, also Bottega Veneta minus the rose, though it does not smell identical to any of them. Coming to the smell, it opens with a fleeting bergamot which simply adds a tang when you spray it. After that, there is the rose patchouli, some moss and musks. Before going into that, I have to say that with time, I have been quite impressed with how abstract it is. We don't have a lot of abstract fragrances nowadays, especially florals. So this stands out as one of those scents where not all the notes and elements are so obvious and you lose engagement after a few wearings. Having said that, you do start to notice how it comes together after multiple wearings. You get the floral bouquet consisting of rose, jasmine and orange blossom. Here it is Turkish rose, which is typically rich and dense, but here it is dewy pink, almost like a watercolor version of it. And it is also wearing a grey veil under a cloudy sky. Then there is a jasmine, which gives that plush, waxy, soft texture to the bouquet. Additionally, there is orange blossom, which obviously adds to the floral, watery and soapy facets. There is also some violet, which adds to the powdery, purple, makeup-y, cosmetic side of the floral heart. And like I said, these florals are not so vivid. It's almost like they are softened and create this out of focus and blurred grey image. No sharp edges or rough textures here. Everything is smoothened out. It is a very round fragrance, I find. It does not have that somber darkness or opulence of a rose patchouli mossy chypre. Everything is toned down. The violet with the rose and possibly some other synthetic compounds that they have used evoke that grey color. There is also a hint of fruitiness and ethyl maltol-like sweetness here, which slightly point toward the direction of a fruit chili, but thankfully it does not go there. It is more so giving that soft velvety fabric and rose champagne like tonality to the scent. Some have even compared it to deodorant because of that. but I think this smells much better and luxurious. Now as the scent dries down further, you get a good amount of patchouli similar to the flowers. It is not too pungent, green or earthy. It is a clean patchouli. Same goes for the oak moss, which makes this a neo chypre. Also sanitized, not dirty, earthy or swampy. Not that it is a good or a bad thing. I like good fat oak moss. It is just a stylistic choice here based on the scent profile. A light touch of woodiness as well. They claim sandalwood and cedar, but I don't pick them up particularly. It is just this soft, slightly creamy, lotion-like woodiness. Don't get much amber either. What I get clearly though are the fluffy, clean musks that help to stick the landing. You have this dichotomy of cool and warm notes that keep things interesting in the dry down. And in the late dry down, this grey, rosy floral is what is dominant. It does not change much. The muskiness and woodiness are just more prominent. The overall smell becomes more powdery, and that is pretty much how the scent closes out. The performance is average. This is more of an understated soft scent. Lasts a decent amount of time, 6 to 7 hours. Projection is average. Year-round versatile, I think. Though it smells put together, I find that it lends itself to casual wearings as well. Unisex leaning feminine in the traditional sense. This brings me to the discussion I had with a sales associate this weekend. Obviously, we talked about the discontinuations. Seems like the Paris exclusives are gone. Fève Délicieuse, gone. Eau Noire has been discontinued twice now. The other thing I asked her very openly was why discontinuations and why this Gris Dior smells softer than I remember. I am not someone who is overly obsessed with reformulations and batch codes, by the way. I've come to peace with that in this hobby. It is just inevitable. So if I like something at that point in time, I buy it. If not, I don't. Here it was very evident for me because I have gifted the Gris Montagne version to people previously and remember it being more mossy and heavy on the patchouli. And even Bois d'Argent, which is my personal favorite, smells thin now. And it is not just me. I know some girls who wear both of these as signature scents and do not have as large a collection as I do. So in some ways they know both these fragrances better than me, having worn them for years. They have also said the same. The essay agreed after some hesitance that it is indeed possible the scents have changed. Apparently Dior looks at the global performance of the releases. So something like Fève Délicieuse or Eau Noire, which apparently didn't do well in the East, is decided as unsustainable. This, along with the internal cost-cutting measures or new ingredient regulations, could have also contributed to the watering down of the current collection, allegedly. Then comes the second topic, like I told. Gris Dior was underrated at the time of release, but now is their #1 bestseller. It's completely unpredictable in France what becomes popular. Before it was Bois d'Argent and now it is Gris. Dior even did a campaign with Jenna Ortega, who was the it girl for 2 months, also pushing it as a youthful, trendy, gender-bender perfume. I will not be surprised if Dior went to Sydney Sweeney next at this point. I have seen teenagers calling it a compliment magnet, aphrodisiac, the next big thing. You know how it goes. It is only a matter of time before rap songs are written about it. Anyway, in some ways, doing an ad with celebrities for a supposedly exclusive fragrance downgrades the value, I feel. We have been seeing the blurring of lines between niche and designer. The other side, we see it happening between exclusives and mainstream releases. On top of that, what I heard was, again, this was from a local essay, so take it with a grain of salt. Dior is apparently going to release extrait versions of 4 of their Privée fragrances at the end of 2024, including Gris Dior. I was thinking, is this what it has come to once again? We have seen Tom Ford do it recently, water down the EDP versions and launch extrait de parfum versions. This just comes across as cynical, but then there will be people who are going to be happy about this and buy it up. So it's just part of the discourse now, I guess. This is already expensive now after the last few years of price increases, and no doubt the extra versions will be higher. We will wait and see how they smell. So for now, what I can say is I do like this. It is not like a top favorite. I still prefer Bois d'Argent, Ambre Nuit, maybe even Oud Isphahan and Leather Oud as per my taste. Putting aside all the other factors I mentioned, In isolation, I think it is probably the best floral in this collection at the moment, and certainly one of Demashi's best work. So though I can't say it's a great value fragrance in absolute terms, especially if you have a lot of fragrances, it is still very good and worth the consideration. So those have been my thoughts on Gris Dior. Thanks for watching, take care and ciao.